How's it going, YouTube? How's it going, YouTube? Welcome back to another video on the channel, and this time we are doing a full overview of Darkwing Blast, what you should expect, if you should buy it or not, and a lot of new cards we have to go through. Before we begin, make sure to leave a thumbs up on the video, subscribe to the channel if you are new here, and let's dive right into it. We have Darkwing Blast. This is our next core set following Power of the Elements. It's gonna release in the TCG on November 19th, which is almost a month away, a month and a couple days. And I think this set is gonna even further increase the power creep that Power of the Elements has brought onto the TCG. And it's gonna bring a lot of really strong cards, a lot of good legacy support for archetypes that we already have. And I think it's just gonna increase the immense impact that Power of the Elements had on the metagame. So the first archetype that is being released here is called Chatrilla. I don't really know if they're gonna name it the same way in the TCG, but this is what it's called now. It's a very small package of the archetype so far. 3 main deck monster, 1 Xyz, 1 spell, and 1 trap. And the whole point with the Chatrilla archetype is that first of all, level 7 psychic monsters, they can special summon themselves from the hand, and the thing that they do is sort of control the field through banishing cards face down. So this is going to be like the main expensive card of the archetype, the Fenrir. It can actually search a monster, a Chatrilla monster, including itself. So you can search another copy of this one, and when it declares an attack or when an opponent activates a monster effect, you can target one face-up card on your opponent's field and banish it face down. And that kind of works in tandem with the continuous spell, which is called Birth at the moment. The first effect is that you can actually normal summon a level 7 monster without tributing. This is once per turn. You can just normal summon it for your normal summon for that turn. And there are a few notable level 7 monsters in the game, specifically Mermere and Destrudo, that you can just put on the field if you have them in your hand. So the 3 main deck monsters for Chatrilla are level 7, so you can just normal summon an additional 1 to get to that Xyz that we're going to cover in a minute. And when your opponent activates a spell card, you can banish 3 cards from their graveyard face down. And that kind of works with the boss monster, which is the Shangri-La, which requires 2 level 7 monsters. And besides the fact that it lets you special summon a Chatrilla monster from the deck, and they're all beefy boys, 2500 attack or more on all of them, if I'm not mistaken. And each time an opponent card is banished face down, you choose one zone on their field, main monster zone or spell and trap zone, and it cannot be used while this monster is face up on the field. So, and this is obviously not once per turn. So every time you can trigger any effect that banishes a card they control face down, automatically you take one of their monster zone or spell and trap zone. I think this is a really good start to a really interesting control archetype, and it'll be really interesting to see how this plays out with other things that can kind of trigger, because the engine is so small at the moment. And then of course we have the Bisted archetype. These are like 5 dragon monsters that sort of tie in both with Dragon Link and also with Branded. So with 3 of them, including Serenir here, you can target 1 light or dark monster in either graveyard, banish it to special summon it, and it's a quick effect if your opponent controls a monster. So you essentially have sort of like a DD Crow plus a summon, and each one of them has a specific effect when they're summoned or sent to the graveyard. They can search, send a Bisted monster from the deck, and it's really good to get your engine going, specifically in Dragon Link, since obviously they are all like level 8s, lights, darks, dragons. It works really well. And again, they work with branded spells and traps. And specifically, you have a new card coming out in the set, which is called Branded Beast. We see Alubir here without the mask finally. And basically, you contribute 1 dragon monster on your field, target 1 card your opponent controls, and destroy it. So just really good spot removal in a trap form. You can tribute dragons. You can actually trigger the effect of the Bisted monsters when they are sent to the graveyard. So I think this is like a really good package to even further increase the Dragon Link strategy, which has been like prevalent for a long time. So just like another, like adding more fuel to the fire. and it's kind of crazy how that is going to play out. And then we have some of the Blackwing support. This is not the Blackwing support, but this is the cover card of the set, Black Winged Assault Dragon. So you have the old Synchro Monster Black Winged Dragon, so you need to banish it and one tuner Synchro Monster to summon it, and it's basically sort of like a masquerade for monster effects, and it hits your opponents for 700 damage each time. And you can also like blast the entire field if your opponent activates, each time your opponent activates a monster effect, you put a counter on it, then you can blow this up with 4 counter to destroy all cards in the field. So this is really cool as well. And again, because this is a synchro monster, you can use Halqifibrax, you can use things like Formula Synchron to summon it on your opponent's turn, then like pop everything. Side is still going to be a problem, and we'll see how this plays out. And this is the new boss monster for the Blackwing archetype. This is getting even more support. I was searching Dueling Book on how many Blackwing cards are there actually, and they're just like 4 pages full of Blackwing cards. So again, more support for this archetype, which has been like prevalent for a lot of formats in the past, and it has like 2 cards banned already. It just keeps going, and basically this is an interesting level 6 tuner synchro monster where you can send a Blackwing monster from the deck, and this card's level becomes that monster's level. And because this is a tuner, I think this is really sort of dangerous. We've seen a lot of things that people have done with this, testing out the new support. So I think this is going to be really interesting for any synchro plays. But again, as long as you have Halqifibrax, these things become a lot more dangerous to summon on your opponent's turn. And then we have a little bit of legacy support for things that we already know. So the first one is going to be Tearlament's Lulu Karos. Interesting to see what they actually name it here, but it requires Kit Kalos and Tearlament's Monster to fusion summon. And basically this is the negate the deck needs when your opponent activates a card or effect that includes special summoning a monster. So finally a way to evade Nibiru. You can negate the activation if you do destroy that card. Then you can send one Tearlament's card from your hand or face up on the field to the graveyard. So you can also send it. And if this card is sent to the graveyard by a card effect, you can special summon it. So really cool. I think a really cool boost to the deck. And we'll see how that plays out as well. And then we have Tearlament's Grief. I think there is another Trap coming out and another quick play spell card, but I think this one is the most prominent one out of the 3, and it's basically a normal spell card that lets you special a Tearlaments or a Visa Starfrost from your deck or graveyard, and then you send one monster you control with the same type or attribute to the graveyard. So again, more Tearlament shenanigans. It's not going to stop until like something big gets hit. And of course, this also has a graveyard effect. You can target one of your banished Tearlaments traps and add it to your hand. Not very useful, but again, I think this is like as a one-of Tearlament's card that you can actually search from your deck. I think this is really good support. So this one is additional Sprite support, and we're getting this and an additional Trap if I'm not mistaken. And this again has the same requirements as Sprite Elf. It cannot be used as link material the turn it's link summon. And basically when it's link summon, you can Foolish Burial one level 2 monster from your deck. Absolutely huge. And if another monster is special summoned while this monster is on the field, you can detach one material from another monster you control, then target one monster in the field and return it to the hand. So you can do really cool things. I think the Foolish Burial effect is kind of nice. It's really, really nice to get the resources you need if you get stopped along your combo. And if you do control an Xyz monster, which normally you could end up controlling one when you finish your combo, you can just detach a monster and bounce a monster from your opponent's field. I think this might see a little bit of play as a one-off in Sprites in the future. Then we have 3 new Draco Slayer cards. I don't know too much about them or the strategy in general, but it actually took the first place in the Japanese OCG Championship this year. So this deck is another way of Konami like trying to bring back pendulums, but the OCG still has Electromite and we don't. So we've seen a lot of pendulum cards come off the ban list, coming off the limited list, being reprinted. So maybe there is a chance that Electromite could come back to support these, because these have the potential as long as they have the right support. Then additional 2 notable cards that I wanted to go through, and the first one is the World Ocean Dragon Zelantis, and this is the first Link 4 monster that requires potentially only 1 material. So it requires 1+ effect monsters, which means that you can use a Link 4 monster as material for this card, just like that, and just special summon it, link summon it. And during your main phase, you can banish as many monsters on the field as possible, then special summon as many of those monsters banished to their owner's field back in either face up attack position, face up defense position, or face down defense position. And then during the battle phase, you can destroy cards in the field up to the numbers of co-link monsters on the field. So this has like arrows pointing up, down, left, and right. So you can essentially special summon the monsters back to the zone this card points to. And I think this is going to be really interesting to see how people actually try and sort of abuse this card, because I think that first of all, it's really good removal to remove monsters, then bring them back in face down defense position. So you cannot activate your Telements traps, you don't get any effects, you can't link summon using them, and yeah, just in general, I think this is like a cool looking staple, like a one-off, that it's going to be interesting to see how this evolves. And the next one, we have the red Cartesia, the Virtua. So this is obviously a take on Ecclesia, the Sword Soul card, the branded card, the Fallen of Albaz made. And this one is actually just a quick play fusion summon. So if you control a Fallen of Albaz on your field or have one in your graveyard, you can special summon this card from your hand. And again, this has the same stats as Ecclesia, and it's also, of course, a tuner. And during the main phase, you can just fusion summon using monsters from your hand or field as fusion material. It doesn't have to be Cartesia, it doesn't have to be Fallen of Albaz. You can just fusion summon any level 8 or higher fusion monster using this card. So this is a really, really cool way of fusion summoning on your opponent's turn. And of course, it has the same effect as the Incredible Ecclesia of returning itself to the hand if a fusion monster has been sent to the graveyard this turn. So yeah, this is like the overview of the notable things that you should be aware of. I'm really, really interested to see what they do with the Chatrilla cards. It's a really small package, but I think this is 100% splashable as like an abusive engine that just banishes cards from your deck face down, and then just like blocks all of your opponent's field, which is kind of nice and crazy, and also a mechanic that we haven't really seen a lot in the past. And this is also a step in the Visa Starfrost lore. So apparently you have the Scareclaws, you have the Telements, and now you're gonna have the Chatrillas entering in as the third piece of this lore. And definitely, like as a lot of people were saying, Visa Starfrost and the whole thing around it, all the supports, all the archetypes are going to be like the new Albaz lore that is going to probably keep us going for like a year with a lot of really interesting cards. Let me know down in the comments what you thought about this set. What are you thinking of picking up? Is it going to be a Chatrilla deck? Are you continuing to play Telements depending on what actually get hit? Let me know down in the comments below. Make sure to leave a thumbs up on the video and subscribe if you have not done that yet. Thank you so much for watching as always, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.